I'm thrilled that you're joining me here. My name is Marilyn Evans. I'm the founder of ParentsAware and host of the Media Savvy Moms podcast, the podcast that is leading the conversation about parenting and pornography today. Welcome 2021, and welcome to the third season of the Media Savvy Moms podcast. I'm really excited to be here, and even more excited to see where this year will take us as we continue to find solutions to the challenge of raising kids in this crazy media-saturated world. You know I'm an optimist at heart, and I can't help but think no matter what life throws at us this year, because it's going to throw some heavy stuff, we got this because we're going to do it together. Thank you all who have reached out on social media and have sent comments via email. I love that we connect. I love knowing that there's a real person on the other side of this podcast. I always want this to be a conversation that you and I are having parent to parent and heart to heart. If I could, I would grab a cup of tea right now and sit down with you. Or better yet, we'd go on a walk together and we'd talk through whatever was most pressing on your mind in the moment. For me, it always helps to get the words out. It always helps to share them with a friend. Saying my worries out loud somehow brings them down to size. They're less overwhelming. And having a sounding board to bounce them off definitely makes them more manageable. Friend, I want you to know that I'm listening carefully to your questions and concerns. This past year, you've asked, how do I keep my kids safe online? How do I talk about pornography without getting stuck or sharing too much information? How do I teach my kids about sex and pleasure without embarrassing them or me? What should I do when my teen is looking at porn or sexting or sneaking tech behind my back? Why aren't there better safeguards in place to protect our kids from dangerous content? How can I fight porn in my community and influence change? It's always interesting to hear people's first reactions when I tell them what this podcast is all about. Some are like, wow, that is so awesome. It's so needed. Thank you, Marilyn. And others wonder how on earth I could talk about parenting and pornography every single week. Don't you run out of things to say? Well, you know that I never do. And that's because in this media-saturated world, parenting and pornography should be an ongoing conversation. For too long, we've buried it in the shadows, wrapped it in stigma and shame, and thought we couldn't or we shouldn't do this. Kids and porn, what? No way, we are not talking about that. Quick, change the subject. But not here. Here we talk about it. Here we make it approachable. Here we bring it into the light and we find solutions. The more we talk about it, whether it's parent or in our school or church communities, and especially within our families, the better we get at having the kind of open, honest conversations our kids need to thrive in this media-saturated world. And that's why I'm excited to announce that we have a new course coming soon. Our target date is February 15th. And this course is designed to help parents start the conversation. I'm going to give you more details as we go along. But first, I want to share with you part of my story. I have to confess, it wasn't long ago that my kids were little and the idea of having ongoing conversations with them about pornography sounded, well, weird. Why would I do that? We were a solid family, I rationalized to myself. Our kids were good, smart, and for the most part, fairly well adjusted, I thought. Porn was not going to be our problem. Like most parents of this generation, I underestimated the media that was targeting our kids. I didn't get how easy it was for any child to stumble across pornographic content on any internet-enabled device. I couldn't imagine how graphic today's pornography was, nor how enticing it would be for a child to go back and look at it again and again. My concept of pornography was still sitting on a magazine rack behind an opaque cover at the corner store, or on a video that had to be rented from a back room, either of which required proof of age to access. And because my concept of pornography was stuck in the past, I felt no hurry to talk to my kids about sex. Truth be told, I really didn't know where to start. These conversations seemed awkward and anxiety-ridden to me. It wasn't that I wasn't willing to have the talk, but rarely did it feel like the right time. Can you relate? I don't think I'm alone here. So how did I go from barely spitting out these anxiety-ridden sex talks at home to leading the conversation about parenting and pornography on a weekly podcast? Well, there were several experiences along the way, as you can imagine, but one particular moment stands out in my mind. It was a turning point that gave me clarity for why these conversations were necessary. The beauty of parenting is that it provides on-the-job training. As our kids grew, I grew in my understanding of what they needed from me. Of course, I made mistakes along the way. Every parent does. And some of those mistakes centered on my reaction to our kids' exposure to pornography. However, I continually made a conscious effort to improve my approach. In fact, after our third son was born, I seized an opportunity to go back to school and finish my degree in family, home, and social sciences. With that, I delved into the science of childhood development, adolescent psychology, and family processes. Whenever my coursework would allow it, I'd focus research and projects towards gaining a greater understanding of pornography's impact on children and teens. As I searched for information, I soon discovered that there was very little research in this area, and even less support available to parents. That's when I had my moment of clarity. I didn't launch an organization or start a podcast right away, but what I did do was resolve to ask one of my sons a question I had never asked before. To take the pressure off, I told him, "There's no wrong answer," and pretended like I was doing research for a class, but really this was all for me. Then I asked, on a scale of 1 to 10, how would you rate my openness or comfort level in talking to you about sex or pornography? It's a bold question, and I might challenge you to ask a similar one of your kids, but be warned, you might not like the answer. My son responded with a 3. Ouch. Actually, his response didn't come as any great shock. I knew I had work to do. It had become obvious from my studies and from our experience at home that I needed to find a way to make the sex talk and the talk about pornography occur naturally and regularly. Still, asking this particular question became a light bulb moment. I realized with clarity that no parent could protect a child from harmful media while simultaneously avoiding all related topics. That simply wasn't going to cut it in our media-saturated environment. Kids by nature are curious. They've got tons of questions. They always have. But now the internet, of course, is more ready to provide answers, often before they even ask. I realized that my kids needed me. And when I say me, I mean either myself or my husband, to start the conversation. Me because I could do it in an age-appropriate way. Me because I could do it without shame or embarrassment. Me, because I could read my child's cues and laugh when a sense of humor was called for, or reach out and give a hug when that was better, or slow right down and start over when I needed to. Me, because I could do it within the context of our family values. And me, because I loved them. See how it clicked? Once I understood why I was talking to my kids about sex and pornography, I didn't turn back. My mama bear instinct wouldn't allow it. Now, I'd love to tell you that talking openly with my kids became easy peasy, snap like that. Not quite. This was new territory, and I still had mindset hurdles to overcome. But over time, my confidence grew. I learned to trust the process. I learned to read my kids better. And ultimately, I learned that showing up and being vulnerable, just enough to start a conversation, was what they needed most. I learned that it was my job to put the topic on the table. After that, it was their conversation. I was there to listen, love, encourage, hug, and sometimes, just sometimes, offer advice. And then the magic happened. I watched in amazement as my kids became confident to bring up topics on their own. It changed how we approached media safety in our home. Instead of creating a checklist of do's and don'ts, we laid the facts on the table together. Then we talked openly and honestly about solutions together. And with our kids' input, we helped them develop safer screen habits over time. Throughout this communication transformation I went through, the one thing I felt missing more than anything was community support. Remember what I said at the start? In this media-saturated world, parenting and pornography should be an ongoing conversation. But in our communities, we don't talk about it. We keep it buried in the shadows, and we wrap it up in that stigma and shame. Families are left to find their way all on their own. From the beginning, it has been my vision to change that, to create a community, a place where parents can come, friends can come, for information and support. My hope is that each weekly podcast will only add to your confidence and empower you to have any conversation you need to have with your child or teen. But I also know that sometimes you need more support than a podcast can provide. Sometimes you want a step-by-step, hold your hand, I've got your back, this is how you do it kind of resource. And I completely understand that feeling. The first time I ever initiated a conversation with my child about pornography, you bet I was super nervous. I know it would have made a world of difference had somebody been on the sidelines coaching me and cheering me on. You got this. You're going the right way. Keep at it. Anything. And that's exactly why I created this course. It's based on our most popular podcast episode, Get Off the Fence, Talk to Your Kids About Pornography. Now, I don't have a title for the course. We'll work with that for now, and I will give you the full details in the weeks to come. For now, just know that the course is set for February 15th. It contains 6 lessons. It's designed to be completed in a week, so just a little bit each day. And it's going to come with a workbook and very intentional exercises designed to give you the confidence you need to start the conversation, any conversation. Plus, I think it's going to be really fun. You know, whenever we can make life fun, let's do it. It doesn't matter where your comfort level is today. We'll start where you're at, whether that's the beginning, middle, or expert. Whether you have younger kids or teens, whether you're a parent or a grandparent, there's something for everyone. I believe in this so much. We can have open, honest conversations with our kids that are approachable and relevant to their needs today. We don't have to get stuck and feel overwhelmed by the challenge of raising our children in a media-saturated world. There are solutions. So with you, I look forward with excitement, joy, and confidence to the year ahead. I'm willing to walk with you, to be your coach, to cheer you on. Let's get started.